The father knew his daughter was about to be taken, yet he didn't tell her to run. Instead, he told her to throw the phone on the floor and loudly described the kidnapper's height, clothing, and physical features. Because Bryan knew better than anyone, once these men had already entered the apartment, hiding under the bed would only buy her a few seconds. He quickly connected his recording device and kept his daughter Kim on the line. Then he calmly told her, with almost brutal composure, "Don't fight back and don't hang up the phone. Everything you see and hear in your final moments could become the clues your father needs to find you." The moment he finished speaking, a pair of feet stopped beside the bed. The man bent down and looked under the bed. Kim's scream instantly came through the phone. Bryan stared intensely at the audio waveform until a stranger picked up the phone. Only then did he hold back his anger and deliver one final warning.
"I don't know who you are. If you let my daughter go now, that'll be the end of it. But if you don't, I will look for you."
Good luck.
The man wasn't afraid, but he had no idea that the seemingly ordinary father on the other end of the phone was once one of the most dangerous operatives in the US government. Bryan was an expert in tracking interrogation and rescue operations, yet he failed at the simplest thing in life: how to be a good husband and father. Years of secret missions caused him to miss his daughter's childhood. By the time he finally decided to retire, his ex-wife Lenore had already remarried, and his daughter Kim had grown used to living without her father around. Bryan moved to Los Angeles. His only wish was to be closer to his daughter, even if he could only be there when she needed him. On Kim's 17th birthday, Bryan arrived at her stepfather's mansion with a carefully chosen karaoke machine. In his memory, his daughter's biggest dream at 12 was to become a singer. But when Kim opened the gift, the excitement on her face only lasted for a moment. Because her stepfather then walked out with an expensive horse, everyone's attention immediately shifted toward it. Bryan stood outside the crowd, watching his gift being left on the ground. He didn't blame his daughter, because what truly hurt him wasn't that his gift couldn't compare to a horse. It was realizing that even after all these years, he was still trying to understand his daughter through memories from 5 years ago. After the birthday party ended, Bryan placed the birthday photos into an album. That album recorded every change his daughter went through, and every year he had missed. A few days later, Kim reached out and asked to meet him. Bryan thought his daughter finally wanted to spend some time alone with him, but his ex-wife was already sitting at the table. They brought out a travel consent form, hoping he would allow underage Kim to travel to Paris with her friend Amanda. Years as an operative made Bryan naturally cautious. Two inexperienced teenage girls traveling alone to a foreign country, trusting the wrong person even once, could lead to consequences they could never undo. He suggested going with them to protect them, but both mother and daughter saw it as him being overly controlling. Seeing the disappointment in his daughter's eyes, Bryan eventually signed the papers. He didn't want to become the father who ruined his daughter's happiness again. But he still set 3 conditions. She had to give him their address, she had to check in with him every day, and any changes to their plans had to be reported immediately. However, on the day he took her to the airport, Bryan discovered that his daughter had hidden the truth from him again. They weren't just planning to stay in Paris. They planned to follow a band and travel across Europe. His ex-wife already knew about it, but she helped Kim keep it from him. Bryan was angry, yet he still let his daughter board the plane, because in this family, every concern he showed was seen as a lack of trust. All he could do was remind Kim to call him the moment she landed. But as soon as they arrived in Paris, Amanda met a young man named Peter at the airport. He warmly offered to share a taxi with them. He even took pictures of them and easily learned their apartment address and how many people were staying there. Kim had her doubts, but Amanda convinced her to go along with it. They thought it was just a romantic encounter, but they had no idea Peter's real job was finding young travelers at airports who were alone without family. After confirming their location, he would sell the information to a kidnapping ring. After arriving at the apartment, Amanda was still lost in her fantasy about Peter. Meanwhile, Bryan had already called several times. When Kim finally answered, a struggle suddenly broke out in the living room. She walked over to the window and saw Amanda being dragged away by several men. That was the moment that led to the phone call from the beginning. After Kim was taken, Bryan immediately contacted his former partner Sam to analyze the recording. At the same time, he asked her stepfather Stuart to arrange the fastest flight possible. He didn't have time to break down, because every detail his daughter gave him was a clue she left behind to help him find her. Sam quickly confirmed. The kidnappers were speaking Albanian with a specific regional accent. They were from the Tropoja region of Albania. It was a criminal organization specializing in abducting young women. The girls would be injected with drugs, quickly losing their ability to fight back. They are then sold into different levels of the underground trafficking network. Sam also warned him, these organizations move far faster than ordinary kidnapping operations. They don't hold victims for long periods waiting for ransom. Instead, they treat them like merchandise, completing the selection, drugging, and resale process as quickly as possible. That meant Bryan wasn't dealing with a single hidden location. He was up against a constantly moving criminal pipeline. Based on previous cases, Bryan had only 96 hours. After that window closed, Kim could be sold to another country and disappear beyond his reach forever. On the flight to to Paris, Bryan played the recording over and over again. He wasn't torturing himself. He was memorizing footsteps, breathing patterns, and the position of everyone in the room. After arriving in Paris, he returned to the apartment where his daughter was taken. Recreating the scene based on Kim's description from the phone call, he found Amanda's abandoned phone on the floor. Then he identified Peter through his reflection in the glass of a photograph. That seemingly insignificant reflection became the first link in the entire kidnapping chain. Meanwhile, Peter was repeating the same trick at the airport, preparing to lure another girl into the trap. Bryan confronted and restrained him immediately, but the driver panicked and abandoned the vehicle. In the chaos, Peter was rescued by his accomplices. Bryan chased him all the way to an overpass. He was hit by a car while climbing over the railing. The only direct lead was lost once again. Bryan had no choice but to turn to French police officer Jean. The two had worked together in the past. Jean appeared willing to help, but he really just wanted to send this problem back to the United States as soon as possible. He revealed that in northern Paris there was an area, an underground trafficking zone controlled by Albanians. Bryan rented a car and hired a translator. He deliberately provoked a prostitute on the street, waiting for the enforcers watching over the area to show up. Then he planted a listening device on one of them during the confrontation. Using the surveillance device, he followed the trail to a construction site. On the surface, it was just a construction site, but it had been turned into an underground trafficking operation. The kidnapped girls were all controlled by drugs. Many of them didn't even know where they were. Bryan searched through every room until he finally saw Kim's jacket on one of the girls. For a moment, he almost lost control, but when he turned the girl's face toward him, he realized it wasn't his daughter. The gunfire quickly attracted the entire gang. Bryan fought his way out with the girl, not because he suddenly felt compassion, but because if this girl was wearing Kim's clothes, she must have seen her. He took the girl back to the hotel and used medication to help her regain consciousness. When she woke up, she was still suffering from withdrawal and fear. She couldn't even fully remember what happened while she was held captive. Bryan didn't force her to answer. Instead, he first made sure she understood she was safe. Then he used Kim's photo and jacket to slowly bring back her memories. Because he knew, drugs don't just destroy the body, they also destroy a victim's ability to understand time and location. The girl finally revealed the last time she saw Kim was inside a place known as Paradise. Bryan arrived there carrying Jean's business card, pretending to be a police officer collecting protection money. The tattoos on the men's hands inside matched the ones Kim had described over the phone. Bryan deliberately asked them to translate the phrase "good luck" when one of the men spoke. The voice he had listened to countless times finally appeared.
You don't remember me? We spoke on the phone 2 days ago. I told you I would find you.
The moment he finished speaking, Bryan opened fire immediately. He took out every guard in the building, but in the final room, he found Amanda's lifeless body. She didn't survive the drug injections, and because Kim was still a virgin, she was sold to a higher-level buyer. Bryan kept the kidnapper Mark alive, using electric shocks to force him to reveal the buyer's identity. Mark eventually gave him a name, Patrice St. Clair, a man who organized secret auctions for wealthy elites. After getting the answer, Bryan had no intention of keeping his promise to let him go, because to Mark, those girls were nothing more than products to be bought and sold. But to a father, behind every single name was a family that would never see their child come home again. To find St. Clair's location, Bryan went back to Jean. He had already discovered that this police officer had financial ties with the human trafficking network. Jean tried to justify himself by blaming his low salary, as if financial struggles could erase all his crimes, but Bryan shot his wife to force him to cooperate, making him reveal St. Clair's location. The method was brutal, but it also exposed why this criminal operation had survived for so long. The kidnappers were responsible for taking the girls, the middlemen handled the transfers, the wealthy buyers paid for them, and corrupt officials made sure everyone could keep making money safely. Bryan used a fake identity to enter the auction. The girls upstairs were displayed one by one like merchandise. When Kim was brought under the spotlight, he forced a buyer to bid $500,000 for her. But just as he was about to leave with his daughter, St. Clair's guards knocked him unconscious from behind. When he woke up, Bryan found himself chained in a basement. They planned to kill him quietly, without making a sound.
Kill him quietly, I have guessed.
But they underestimated one thing. A father who had placed all his hope on saving his daughter. Bryan used the pipes above him to break free. After taking out the guards, he fought his way back to the auction hall. St. Clair was shot and fell to the ground. Even as death approached, he still insisted that it was nothing more than business.
It was all business. It wasn't personal.
It was all personal to me.
St. Clair revealed, Kim had already been taken to the docks and was about to be taken out of France by a wealthy buyer. When Bryan arrived, the yacht had already left the shore. He didn't have time to deal with his injuries, and he couldn't afford to slow down. Every minute the boat moved farther away. His daughter was getting farther beyond the reach of French authorities. Once they reached international waters, they could switch boats or change course at any moment, and every clue he had found would disappear again. Then he jumped from the bridge onto the top of the boat. All the guards on board rushed to stop him. Wounded but determined, Bryan fought his way through each level because he knew clearly this was his final chance within the 96-hour window. Behind the final cabin door, the wealthy buyer was holding Kim at gunpoint, trying to use her as a hostage to escape. Bryan didn't negotiate. He pulled the trigger the moment he saw an opening. After the gunshot, Kim finally ran into her father's arms. Only at that moment did Bryan finally allow himself to relax after days of tension. After returning to Los Angeles, he didn't use the rescue as a reason to demand his daughter's understanding, nor did he use saving her life to reclaim his place as a father. He simply fulfilled the promise he couldn't keep on her birthday, taking Kim to meet the singer he once protected, giving her a real chance to learn how to sing. What Taken is truly about is not just about a retired operative destroying a human trafficking network by himself. Bryan had the skills that made criminals fear him, but those same skills once cost him his marriage and caused him to miss his daughter's childhood. He could, within 96 hours, track down kidnappers scattered across Paris. Yet it took him more than a decade to understand a father isn't someone who shields his child from every danger in the world, but someone who, even when he can't be there for every step, is willing to take responsibility for the years he was absent. Kim's naivety put her in danger. His ex-wife's secrecy made the risk even greater. The silence of corrupt officials allowed evil to become a profitable business. But what truly brought her home wasn't Bryan's endless need to control her. It was that even in his darkest moment, he refused to believe his daughter was already lost. Some love arrives too late. It cannot restore all the years that were lost, but even in the darkest moments, it can still become the reason someone refuses to give up.